But what I am sure about is poor Philipsen, man. Just look, bike racers, if you haven't broken your collarbone racing a bicycle, then you haven't raced enough, because it just always happens. It is the most common injury.
Hopefully that's all it was.
And maybe, it could be something else, but he landed straight. Normally you could get an arm out, you get something to break the fall right down on that right shoulder. And it was just, it was awful to watch, because he got to the side of the road, guys stopped for him. So you're thinking, okay, there's a little bit of hope maybe. And then the next thing you see is the guys, they just send the guys off. At that point, Bradley's like, he's out. And we are back. Welcome to the Move Podcast. I'm Lance Armstrong, joined by Sir Bradley Wiggins, Mr. George Hincapie down there, who has spent most of his morning not watching the Tour de France. However, instead watching Wimbledon.
I was multitasking, yes.
We're covering stage 3, won by Tim Merlier. We'll get into all that action. Alain, but first, tell us, where'd we go?
Stage 3 from Valenciennes to Dunkerque. From Valenciennes to Dunkerque.
Love that. As is the case each and every day, today's show brought to you by Ketone IQ. Real quick at a high level, Tim Merlier, second stage win. First stage win of the Tour for Quick-Step. Third in a row for the Benelux region.
Yep.
Photo finish. I mean, it was close. It's always funny, the guys, as you watch on TV, you have no idea who won. They always know. Right? He was right there. Merlier signaled that he had won. He knew.
Yeah, it was tight. From our angle, we had no idea that he won. Super close, super tight. Interesting lead outs going on. I felt like Trek perhaps maybe dropped him off a bit too early on his own, but he jumped on right on the post picnic wheel and however you say it. And I mean, he had a straight run in, and I'm sure he's gonna take a lot of anger out of this loss and perhaps do things differently in the next sprint stage.
Seems a little angry.
Yeah,
he does seem angry.
Yeah.
We're going to break down the sprint even more, because there's just other, obviously this is one of these days that on paper looked to be uneventful. It was not that at all. It was a very eventful / uneventful day. But before we do, today's show brought to you by Roka. So Roka has completely reinvented the class of eyewear. Glasses that are optimized for performance. By the way, too, their prescription glasses have the exact same technology as their performance sunglasses. Look at Mr. Hincapie's glasses down there. See, if he walks outside, those go dark.
They go dark.
He's got his transitions up in there. They're unbelievably lightweight. They do have the best optics on the market. They never slip, no matter how sweaty you get. Also super cool, they're working with the Special Forces here in the U.S. Hand-built to order in my hometown of Austin, Texas. And for once, you don't have to compromise on performance or style. And by the way they build them, you can pick anything you like and know that they work for marathons, workouts, trail running, high rocks, whatever you're into. The Move listeners get 20% off. Just go to Roka, that's ROKA.com, Roka.com. Enter the code THEMOVE at checkout for 20% off. Also today brought to you by Element. It is that time of the year. We start to sweat a lot. Thank God we're not in Texas or South Carolina.
Yeah, it's hot there.
Or London.
It's hot in London.
It is hot. It's been hot, right? Element is our go-to hydration source. 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, 60 milligrams of magnesium. No sugar, no gluten, no artificial ingredients, no BS. It is the real deal. By the way, too, it has been amazing to be their partner for so many years. One of the first folks to ever support this show. We are eternally grateful for that, and also for keeping us hydrated. Get a free 8-count sample pack of Element's most popular drink mix flavors with any purchase at drinklmnt.com/themove. That's drinklmnt.com/themove. And if you hear that, that sounds like George
drinking Element,
taking a big old sip of his Element down there. Last one here for a bit. As someone who's trained hard most of my life, I've learned that real performance doesn't just come from the gym. It starts at the cellular level. It's we're going to talk about Timeline now. It's a supplement that supports cellular energy by helping your body renew its mitochondria. Look that up, George. Those tiny powerhouses inside your cells that start to slow down as you age. The science is strong. MitoPure is clinically shown to improve muscle strength in just a few months. And it supports healthy aging at the cellular level, which is something I care more and more about each and every year. Personally, I take the zero sugar gummies daily. They're simple, clean, and easy to work into your routine. Head on over to timeline.com/TheMove to get started. That'll get you 20% off. That's timeline.com/TheMove. Gets you 20% off.
And we need some of that right now after that beatdown Mark gave us this morning.
I know. We hit up the gym because, as I said, back to the action now. As I said, this was one of these days that, it's easy to say, okay, relatively flat stage. You look at the profile, clearly going to be almost, always going to be a field sprint here. Let's go hit the gym. And Mark upstairs, boys, putting the hurt on us. And then, of course, a lot happened.
Quintessential sprint stage today.
Let's talk about the sprint, though. Tim Merlier, a couple of fun facts. I did not know this. Sir Bradley filled me in. And, of course, if you're watching the show, you can see his iPad here. He's got one sticker.
Look.
One sticker on his iPad.
All right.
That's a sticker of Frank Vandenbroek. For those old cycling fans, you will remember Frank Vandenbroek. You will remember the immense amount of talent that this man had. I mean, when this boy came on the scene, there was a moment where you're like, oh, no. I guess we're all just going to be racing for second, or let's find some other races. He had more talent in his pinky than most people had in their whole body. Anyhow, the reason we bring this up, Tim Merlier is married to Frank Vandenbroek's daughter.
Yeah, Cameron.
Yep. Pretty amazing. Anything else stand out about that sprint other than the photo finish? We do want to talk about Jonathan Milan. Curious about his style, your thoughts on his style.
Yeah, his style, he looks like he's all over the bike. Kind of looks on aero, but the guy comes from the track, team pursuiter.
Yeah.
Right?
Olympic champion.
Olympic champion, can win a prologue and on many days as well.
Yep.
Has had an incredible couple of years, and this is his first Tour de France, I believe. You can see the nerves starting to get to him, the tension he's gotten into a couple of fights. But there's just a world of pressure mounted on his shoulders right now. They left Matt Peterson at home, so it's all on him. And some people react differently to that kind of pressure.
But we've gotten so used to the greatness over the years, the last almost 2 decades. Of course, this is the first tour in a very, very long time that Mark Cavendish is not here. But we got so used to his style, right? Low, punchy, very aero. And then you look at a Milan, head all over the place, sitting up high, a big guy. I mean, imagine the amount of watts that guy has to put out. And then compare and contrast. You can just go on YouTube and watch. I mean, he's not called the Manx missile for nothing, but totally different styles.
He's very unorthodox, but it seems to work for him. He gets it out. This is a guy who is the world record holder for the 4,000 meter individual pursuit, which is sub 4 minutes for 4 kilometers. So he's a very, very, he's very diverse in the way he can switch disciplines, and he climbs well as well, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But he's now leading the green jersey competition for his efforts. He won that intermediate sprint today. And he, so far, although he hasn't won a stage, he's justifying his selection over Mads Pedersen, which is, I'm sure, part of the pressure.
Really? Out of curiosity, Sir Bradley, so his time is, and just going back to the
3:58, I think
3:58, and your best time ever?
4:12.
Whoa.
20 years ago that was, yeah.
Jeez.
He went 14 seconds faster.
Yeah. He's quick.
What?
Yeah.
That's wild.
Wow.
I think we also need to point out how what seemed so easy how Tim Merlier came up in the finish there.
Yeah.
I think like 500 meters ago, and he essentially came up on the side of the peloton on his own and seemed to be going 10K an hour faster than the lead out train and just slotted it in right behind Milan with a couple, bumping and grinding there. But the moment I saw that, I was pretty sure he was going to win. Because if you're able to do that when someone's full gas leading out a sprint, that means you got a crazy amount of power, crazy amount of confidence. He was on his own. He didn't even need his teammates there. And I think Remco was helping with like 10K to go. They all got stuck in a crash, but man, he was just floating. He found found that wheel and just was able to come around Milan. Not easily, obviously, because it was a photo finish, but still.
Yeah. Lots of crashes today.
Yeah, lots of crashes.
We're going to break all those down. Interesting fact, it has been 109 consecutive stages without an Italian victory. The last Italian victory was Nibali in 2019. So we're talking, I mean, we were an inch away today.
There's no way you pulled that one out. That must be Spencer, our guru, giving feedback.
No, I was ChatGPT. No, I don't know. Yes, of course Spencer did it. Thank you, Spencer. But think about that. I mean, this is, for that country, 109 stage wins without a win. Or 109 wild. Stages without a win.
Yeah.
2019, Nibali.
Yeah. That puts even more pressure on Jonathan Milan. I mean, think about it. His whole team, the whole country is, waiting for him to get a victory, especially after the years he's had. So we've seen it. We've seen it in some of his actions in the first two, three stages, and I can understand that.
You had a lot of crashes, and I was looking at the road book online, and I saw the final, and I thought, and interestingly enough, Sir Bradley, you had pulled up a YouTube clip of the last time when the Tour finished here in '95. We'll touch on that in a second. But I saw these, left bend, right bend, and I'm thinking to myself, and of course we have just watched a half a dozen crashes already on the stage. I'm thinking, I don't feel great about this. This feels dangerous to me. Nonetheless, that was the run in, and of course there was another crash. But it just brings up this question again. And the other thing you noted, rightfully so, is that the width of the road in '95, it looked twice as wide as the finish today.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Well, it was the same. They finished here in 2022 when Wout van Aert attacked in the final over those last few climbs.
Okay.
You remember he rode solo to the finish.
Oh, and did the Red Bull wings thing.
And even then the road was, there are roads available to the organisers to use. I find it hard. I thought we'd gone away from this. I thought we were making the sport safer. And this is from the same organisers that have, of course, run Paris-Roubaix, that have put a chicane in before Arenberg to make the race safer, which I think has sanitized the race personally, because that's part of what the joy of Roubaix is about. But in terms of Tour de France finishes and things, that finish straight today was something I haven't seen for a while.
Yeah.
It reminded me of a Giro d'Italia finish, and it made it extremely dangerous. And I think there was a few crashes because of that. Certainly the crash in the finish straight.
Yeah. So let me point out what went on today. When we saw with 30, 40K to go, my man Tim Wellens, by the way, rode away and got your favorite jersey, the KOM jersey. Great guy. He's we chat once in a while, but great to see him in that jersey, especially since he won the Belgian national championships. But they were essentially rolling along kind of slow. Headwind.
Yep. The
peloton was all spread out, which, as I mentioned yesterday, is some of the most tense moments in all of cycling. But on top of that, they all know there's no guessing game anymore in these finishes. They all knew how technical the finish was going to be. So that adds even more tension. And the fact that, yes, they're rolling around relatively easy, that means that all these guys in the back are fresh. That means they're going to start moving up, making it faster, making it more dangerous. And what happens is people start crashing on just straightaways into, road furniture, whatever. But there's more crashes because of that.
Yeah. I mean, you saw this within the last 5-6 kilometers. You'd bring up road furniture. I don't know if it was necessarily road furniture, but it was narrowing of the road to sort of funnel the riders a certain direction. With just these random barriers.
Yeah, random
with a little bit of tape.
With tape.
I mean, this is...
But there was a time.
Look, it's easy for us to say.
Yeah.
It is.
But it shouldn't be that way.
But I also remember a time when ASO would remove road furniture in the last 5 or 6 kilometers. Right. Anything that was an obstruction or a potential danger, they would uproot, re-tarmac, and make a safer passage.
That's right.
And we seem to have got away from that. And whether that's a financial implications of doing that, I imagine they're probably huge, based on the amount of furniture in these villages now. But nonetheless, it's the riders that have to face the consequences of that. Mm-hmm. But one thing I'll say as well is someone who seems to avoid these crashes like the plague is Tadej Pogacar. Mm-hmm. He's, Remco yet again caught up today in a crash. And Tadej, it's part of his greatness. I mean, you know better than anyone. How many times did you crash in your seven victories,
How many?
I think one was it, and that was in the mountains.
Yeah. Oh.
But on these stages,
I did tip over one on the time.
Yeah. So, all right.
But yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Well, I think the fact that Remco went down is obviously not ideal. 2 days away from the time trial, another hard stage tomorrow. Clearly, he's not happy with that. But at the same time, Quick Step had a sort of a disastrous first 2 stages. They come away with a win today. I think the morale is going to be a lot higher at the dinner table tonight. It's going to motivate Remco even more to go for the win. On
do you think it will be the morale?
I think so.
Because I sort of see the team as split a little bit. You've got Merlier in the front, winning the stage, which is great. But their man for the GC is lying on the floor, and so there's no cohesion from they're sort of split in terms of their objectives.
Yeah. And the speculation is rife about him, about Remco leaving the team. You know what? I don't think that the camaraderie or the morale on the bus or at the dinner. I think that's off, but that's
Well, who better to ask than Sir Bradley Wiggins? I mean, the same thing happened in 2012 with Mark Cavendish, who was world champion, best sprinter of the world at the time. You're going for the Euro, and talk about how you guys worked through those dynamics.
Well, I mean, that caused a lot of friction within the team. We had the dynamic with me and Chris Froome, but not only that, we had the split in terms of objective of Cav wanting to win stages in green, and it caused friction within the team and certain members of the team and certain DSs in the team, which has been well documented. But at some point, riders like me, I intervened and said I'd do the lead outs because I, as a friend of Cav and sort of acted as mediator, which we did, and it was the safest place for me to be in yellow was being on the front leading Cav out. Also, the sacrifices he'd made for my yellow jersey competition. So that's how that played out. But that obviously is different in every team.
Well, talk about the lead outs, because I was also a lead out man for Cavendish, and I would never follow him from like 7 kilometers to go till 2 kilometers to go because he was crazy. I mean, the shit he would do in the peloton. I would always just try to find him with about 2K to go and then get in front of him with 1,500 meters. So how did you do it? When you were
so I had a very specific role in that my job was always from the 2 kilometer banner to about 800 to go.
Okay.
And that would give me enough time to swing off and then get back in somewhere down the line.
Yeah.
Now, Cav would always say to us, you do your job, I'll find you. Do not look back for me. Do not try and find me. I will get to you. And he would have Bernie with him or Edvald.
Yeah. And those
so we would just focus on looking ahead, never looking behind. And Cav was very vocal. Cav would always be, you could hear him 10 riders back shouting, right side of the road. And kind of, so you'd listen to those instructions, you'd go, right. So Cav would break sprints down like no other rider I'd ever met. And you knew, he would be calculating all the time, but he would somehow always find you.
Yeah.
And I think that was the key to Sky's train anyway. You were very different. Your job was to sit behind Cav as long as possible, I guess.
Well, no, like I mentioned before, I told Cav the same thing he told you guys. Like, don't look for me from 7K to 2K to go. I will find you, and I would slot into their train because I would kind of try to stay near them, but there's no way I would go through the holes they were going through.
There's no.
I would go on the right side of the road. All those years of shepherding you through in the win at the finals, I think helped me, especially for those types of stages. And then I would slot into their train once we got clear and we were ahead of the group and we would do our thing. But I did not want any part of their 5K to 2K to go.
By the way, I mean, I'm on the sidelines here, just like everybody else listening or watching. That was fucking amazing. That was cool. Like, I'm just sitting here going, whoa, I didn't know any of this.
Well, it was funny too. Like, I remember 2012. Go ahead, finish what you could say.
No, I'd want to appreciate what we all just heard. Like, that's some inside stuff that I have no idea. It was super cool.
So Cav would go by, at that time I was on BMC, and he'd come by like our dinner table, like, anybody need a sprinter? Anybody looking for a sprinter? Like, with his head down. He was world champion, and he's always super emotional and dramatic. And he was trying to be funny as well, but he was going around asking other teams if they needed a sprinter.
Yeah. Well, of course, speaking of sprinters and crashes, it was a very eventful day for Jasper Philipsen. We saw the intermediate sprint. This is when we were in the gym, and it all of a sudden it just happened, right? And debatable on who is to blame. I think Coquard got a lot of the blame on television, certainly got a lot of the blame on the road. As you watch this overhead angle, I'm not so sure. But what I am sure about is poor Philipsen, man. Just look, bike racers, if you haven't broken your collarbone racing a bicycle, then you haven't raced enough, because it just always happens. It is the most common injury.
Hopefully that's all it was.
And maybe, it could be something else, but he landed straight. Normally you could get an arm out, you get something to break the fall right down on that right shoulder. And it was just, it was awful to watch because he got to the side of the road, guys stopped for him. So you're thinking, okay, there's a little bit of hope maybe. And then the next thing you see is the guys, they just send the guys off. At that point, Bradley's like, he's out. It's over.
Look, I think I'd have a hard time blaming Coquard for that. I mean, I
agree.
think it was just a perfect storm where he went to hit out to the right. The guy that was passing him on the left was kind of leaning towards the left of him. Or
the Wanty guy.
The Wanty guy leaned into him. They kind of hit each other at the same time. I mean, and there was nothing for Coquard to do. The fact that Coquard didn't crash was remarkable. Clipped out of the pedal, sitting on his top tube. But at the same time, Philipsen did not have the same luxury to react as quickly as Coquard and hit the ground hard. Like you said, couldn't even put his hand out or react, and right on the shoulder.
But if you break it down, I mean, Coquard got moved by the Wanty guy on his right, and that's what moved him. I mean, you have to look at where this started.
I don't think anyone's to blame. I think it's
fair enough.
It's an occupational hazard of what those guys are doing.
Yep.
And these guys are making micro adjustments to micro movements at those speeds that the next person reacts, and it's over exaggerated movement from the first guy. And it's just, it's hard to explain what it's like sprinting at those speeds.
I'm glad I never had to do it.
No.
But that wasn't the view of Team Alpecin. I mean, you saw one of their riders, coming down on Coquard and essentially blaming him, at least just from what we could tell. Yeah, but that's just the emotion.
It is. You always feel in those moments someone's got to be to blame for it. And as a rider, there's an emotion attached to that. And
I would guarantee you that rider that was yelling at him, he's going to watch the highlight and go, ooh, that probably wasn't much. Yeah. It wasn't his fault. Yeah. He'll probably go up to him tomorrow and be like, hey, man, sorry about that. Yeah. And it's very understandable. I mean, high pressure. I mean, these guys' heart rate is 200. They see their leader crash on the floor. They saw a guy bump into him. They make, their assumptions right away. And that's just part of the sport. It happens all the time.
And these intermediate sprints matter now, as I learned yesterday.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. I mean, we're seeing quite the battle unfold between Milan and Gourmet already. I mean, they're 4 points separated by 4 points. Merlier's creeping in there.
And they lost, arguably they're the biggest favorite, I think, at this point. I mean, he looked great.
Yeah.
Awful to see.
It'll be interesting. If a guy like Matthew Evenepoel wants to get the green jersey, he can probably get the green jersey because he can make it up all these times.
Yep. Because tomorrow's stage is nasty.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that. We're going to take a quick station break. Like you grow up and you watch TV and the people say stuff. You're like, that sounded cool. Like, station break. That sounds dope. What grew up watching Love Connection, Chuck Woolery throwing it out to commercial 2 and 2. That was cool.
That was
cool. So you're like, well, one of these days in my life, maybe I'll get to do that. I get to do it now. We'll be back in 2 and 32. All right, welcome back, everybody. I believe tomorrow looks interesting, but before we get to tomorrow, a few things, and I think we have a slide for this. This might seem a little bit self-congratulatory, but this is a big damn deal for all of us here at The Move. This just popped up yesterday. I was on the golf course, of course, and the team sends me this. Here's the top charts in the podcast world. Now, if you're watching, you can see it. If you're not, The Move.
Yeah, that's right.
#1 podcast in sports. In front of Bill Simmons, Dan Lebatard, Andy Roddick's coverage of, Wimbledon, Pardon My Take, and the Kelsey brothers. Now, that has never happened.
That's a big deal.
We've been number 2, we've been number 3, we've never been number 1.
Yeah.
That was a day maker.
For all of us. We're very proud to be part of this.
Yeah, and
that's good.
And we're just thankful and grateful. I mean, this doesn't, I mean, I know George probably downloads it a lot and listens to himself, but that's not enough to get us up there. I mean, it's a big damn deal.
No, actually, I was quite impressed. You said you were listening to it the other day on your hike.
I listened. I'll get to that in a second, but thank you to anybody and everybody that listens. We really, really appreciate it. And I did listen to the preview show for the very reason that as I listened, and I will say you were right. right? I was accused early on in the show of having low energy.
You were quite offended by that statement.
It was very tough.
About
you know, we're just starting. I mean, who wants to start anything with low energy?
Yeah, exactly.
That means you're just guaranteed to suck. And so I went back and listened, and I was like, I have to do better.
Can y'all take notes of this? The man is agreeing with me. It's very seldom that he actually agrees with me.
And I agree with you. And
thank you.
And I'm happy, and I'm glad that you called me out on it. So I was just doing a little bit of homework and research and reflection. Okay. And so I've tried to up my energy.
It's been great the last 2 days. Really good.
Thank you very much. So I have another fun story, and everybody knows, or that's listened to the show for years, has sort of gotten used to these personal stories. But it never fails. Every year I learn something new about somebody on this team.
I knew I was going to regret telling
every
you
single this man to my far left, I have known.
Melanie, please put your earmuffs on.
I have known since 1989. I've known this man, whatever that is, 36 years, right?
Yeah,
no, longer than that. My math is whatever. It's a long time. And of course, this first week of the tour, before his family gets here, and hopefully they're not listening, he stays with us in the house. And I watch a lot of the news, a lot going on. I watch a lot of golf, but every night it never fails. I come home and the man is parked on the couch, obsessing and watching Love Island. That's all he watches.
Do I get a rebuttal, or are you still?
No, hold on.
Okay,
hold on. And he binge watches Love Island. Do you know what Love Island is?
Yeah, we have in the UK.
Well, but this is unwatchable.
Yeah, it's trash.
Before you finish the story, can I say one thing?
Sure.
It's trash.
Colin, hook me up over here on the big screen, and let's see something kind of funny. Since we're talking about love, look at my man engrossed with Love Island.
No, this is a man.
Look at the attention he is giving this show right now.
And he was
You need to be careful in your own household, Lance, because I'm always watching. Okay? The focus you had on that show was very indicative of how much you actually liked watching it.
And listen, we have to be careful, okay? Because we're really psyched and proud to be on Peacock. This is a Peacock show. I'm with you, Sir Bradley.
Podunk trash.
And so
Podunk trash.
But the man, look, you can pull up all the fake clips you want. That's a look of disgust of like how would anybody watch this? How could anybody go on this?
It was entertaining.
But that's not the big learning. That's not the big learning from the first few days of the tour. As we're watching this, Mr. Hincapie, the man to my far left, reveals that in the early 2000s, he was one of the original candidates to be on The Bachelor. Before he's married. So Mel, this is pre-Mel.
Yep.
He was in the running to be on The Bachelor.
Now she made the finals. No, but I could have done it had I wanted to.
Okay, that's all fine and good. However, keep in mind, in the early 2000s, we were winning the Tour de France. So this man thinks it's a good idea to submit his name, enter into the process, make it to the finals of The Bachelor, and you're on a team that's winning the Tour. Which part of this makes sense?
Hey, I was going to go to LA for 6 weeks, training in the mountains. I had it all figured out, but I decided ultimately not to do it.
Obviously. But the fact that this gets revealed 20 plus years later was just gold. And if it wasn't for Love Island, I never would have learned it.
Yeah.
So for that, I am thankful for Love Island.
Hang on, didn't you do some like Living in Mars show or something like similar to the Bachelor? You don't remember that?
Let me tell you.
I feel like did I dream that, or did that actually happen?
And as the loyal listener, viewer, hopefully can appreciate, there is a lot of stuff that I regret. And that would be one. All right. So I did go to Mars for a couple weeks.
How was it?
Awful. And in fact, I'm still recovering. I am. It's not funny. It is.
Can we at some point? Can you like walk us through what like a day in that show looked like? I'd be
Let
interested.
me just sum it up this way. All right. Thank God for Marchand. I mean, if it wasn't for Marchand, somebody was going to get hurt, and it might have been myself. I don't know. My mental health is good, except for those 2 weeks. I was like, wow. So this is what it feels like, huh? That's not good, man. Jesus. So. Whatever. We need to talk about a bike race.
Yeah. Stage, we're coming up stage 4.
We are, but before we do, today's show also brought to you by Ketone IQ, and of course that is our presenting sponsor. Tons of new flavors, tons of new options with Ketone. Obviously they have the classic shot. This thing is going to replace all those junky things that you have at the convenience store when you check out. This is real energy, and it's been proven to work, not just right here at this desk, but it's been proven to work in the pro peloton, and it's also now being proven to work in the lab, right? In a placebo-controlled study with trained athletes, Ketone IQ boosted average sprint power by 19%, peak power by 13%, cut fatigue by 10%, and spiked blood ketones 5 times in just 20 minutes. Also, too, faster recovery. Ketone IQ recently teamed up with Team Love Island. That was a joke. Team Beast Melissa bike and another soccer team over. Will you imagine Love Island rocking some ketones up in there?
That's the last thing they need.
And they all sleep. I'll get to sleep in a second. Their key findings with these studies: improved blood flow, higher muscle oxygenation, and better endurance and stamina. Take your shot. Get 30% off your subscription plus a free gift with your second shipment at ketone.com/TheMove. Last one of the day. This would work really well on Love Island. Helix Sleep. They all sleep in the same room. This is, to me, what is amazing. You're not even, I mean, you are appalled at where this conversation.
I know about these TV shows. They're
But you're like, I flew all the way over here to talk about this stuff.
I'm sure the public want to hear about it. I want to hear opinions on everything these days.
But Helix Sleep has changed the sleep game, right? You go on their website, you fill out your sleep quiz. Obviously, you take that quiz in consideration for your partner, whether or not you sleep with somebody or not. You can customize the mattress. 5-star reviews across the board. It's been a game changer for me, George. I know you've been sleeping on the mattress.
Yeah, I love it.
For many, it really is. Yeah. And the way that you can customize it and it shows up at your doorstep in this box, you're like, they forgot to send the mattress. Yeah. It's in there. And it is so handy, so easy to install, and it's a game changer. And as we all know, everybody at this desk does know, sleep is key. And sleep is essential. And if you're behind, I know personally speaking, if I'm behind on sleep and sleep quality, everything is affected. And so, FYI, 4th of July, best of web offer. And it's not the 4th of July anymore. It's whatever it is. It's the 7th of July. Best on the web offer, 27% off all orders on the site. helixsleep.com/TheMove. That's helixsleep.com/TheMove. Make sure you enter our show name after checkout so they know that we sent you. All right. I got really riled up about I don't know what riled me up more, the Love Island or somebody reminding me about stars on Mars.
I wish we had like more of a reminder, but
Let's look at tomorrow's stage. It's been, this is, as a fan and as somebody who wakes up early in the morning to watch these stages, this one gets me excited. This is the overall profile, 174 kilometers. If you're a vertical nerd, it's about 6,500 feet of climbing. But look at the finish. Ooh, Cat 4. Ooh, sorry. Ooh, yeah, there it is. Well, we'll look at this is the last 21 kilometers. Cat 4, Cat 4, Cat 3, and then an uphill finish. But this looks nasty.
This is a breakaway.
This is going to be you think so?
I mean, think about all the work that Alpecin Phoenix has done these last 3 days. They just lost one of their leaders. I mean, their morale is probably a bit down. Don't get me wrong, amazing stage for Mathieu van der Poel, no doubt.
Yep.
But are they going to continue to use up all their matches this early in the Tour de France when this is very, very clear stage for a breakaway. I think a strong breakaway of 10, 15 guys, a strong guy that will be able to hold the yellow jersey for a while to help UAE and perhaps Visma do a lot of control. I see a breakaway going to the finish tomorrow.
Bradley?
I'm not so sure.
I'm not so sure.
Just
I don't think
this
so.
modern day cycling, man. I don't know. I think it's just going to be a field sprint again of some sort, or a group like we had in Bologna.
A group getting into these tricky final 20K.
I mean, after the time trial, Vanderpoel's race, is, aside from Muir de Bretagne, he wants to get as much out this first week. I mean,
right.
They may do.
I don't know. I see. Look, we got the time trial coming up. We got a lot of people. Their only chances to win the stage through a breakaway. I mean, today was a relatively easy day. Headwind. They weren't going that hard. They're fresh. They're not going to want to save anything for the time trial. I'm seeing a big breakaway going and getting a couple minutes.
Big break. Pre-time trial.
I'm thinking 10, 15 guys.
Pre-time trial.
Pre-time trial.
Yeah, I think someone like Tadej could win tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, if it's together, no doubt. Tadej or Evenepoel.
Just pull it back up real quick, Gabriel, because there's some pieces. I'm with you, Bradley. I think they keep in mind too.
What's Johan think, or Spencer?
Well, we're going to throw to Spencer in a second because I want to talk about outcomes, but. They just lost Philipsen, right? Yeah. So this what a stage for them to keep it together. Yeah. Tip of the cap to him, honor him. This is a perfect stage for Mathieu van der Poel. But look at some of these. Look, 15% sections there. The second to last little climb. It's a nasty finish. I think it's perfect for him. I don't see a break going.
If a guy like him wants to win the stage, he's going to rally his troops and be like, hey, even if a breakaway goes, keep him close. We'll bring them in. It just depends. It all depends on what Alpecin Phoenix does tomorrow in terms of the breakaway getting away or not.
Yeah, weather looks perfect. Totally sunny, 70 degrees, slight crosswind most of the day until they make that final turn and then get into the hills.
Yeah.
FYI. We will get actually Spencer's opinion because I do want to talk about outcomes. Obviously, he does the show each and every day with Johan, the sports betting show. Spencer, you're putting up some numbers, right? If look, I think everybody should be in the IRR game, right? Whether you're buying stocks here and there, whether you're whatever you're investing in. Let's just talk about how you're doing, right?
Yeah, well, you got to stay humble. That's the most important thing. Good. But yeah, my pick for the day was Tim Merlier, plus 190. It's funny, Johan picked Jasper Philipsen. I think he was like plus 320, and I was a little jealous. I was like, I don't know how I feel about this, but let's go Merlier. Worked for the second day in a row. If you didn't listen yesterday, plus 190, like plus 200 would be you get $200 of profit on betting $100. So I nearly tripled my money again. I'm up. I've returned 570 on an initial investment of $360. So that's what, a 58% return annually. That's like 7,000%. So we might raise a few billion, start a fund based solely around Tour de France sprint stages at this point.
It's not a terrible idea.
Well, I think you might run into like limit issues on some of these books if you put like $6 billion down.
You're right.
No disrespect at all to Merlier, but I think if Philipsen was there, he probably still would have won today.
I agree with that.
Yeah. And the way he won the first stage, you got a guy like Mathieu van der Poel taking you to 200 meters to go, would have been, I think, a bit different sprint.
Yeah. Just FYI, George, Johan sent a message here on the group chat. He does not think there'll be a breakaway. He thinks it's either Van der Poel or Mr. Pogacar.
Well, Johan shouldn't be burning that.
I know.
That should be in outcomes.
That should be in outcomes, but he can't help himself. He's listening live, and he couldn't help himself.
Do you guys want to? So we got the stage right, and then it's just a fun thing about the show. By the way, we're on the Moves podcast feed and YouTube channel. So if you're watching this on Peacock and you're like, hey, well, I want more of this, that's where you can find us. We do head-to-heads at the end of every stage. I just do rapid fire. Johan has to answer. One of them was Tadej Pogacar versus Jonas Vingegaard. So you bet on one of those to finish in front of the other. Kind of funny because they're not really racing on a day like today. They finished 70th and 71st. Wow. Jonas finished in front. Johan got that one right. And then an even like odder one, Mathieu van der Poel versus, I'd never heard of this rider before, I apologize, Stein Friedheim. And that was another one where they finished, I think, 4 spots apart. Van der Poel finished ahead. Johan got that one right. So there's a lot of fun stuff on the show outside of just the stage winners.
And you can bet on that as well?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
When are we doing our fund? We're supposed to get that going. Let's work on that today.
I've already been back in Spencer, so sorry, Johan. As we do each and every day, Ventum Daily Trivia. right? The question yesterday was, what was the distance of the longest ever tour? The answer, 5,745 kilometers. You can do the math on whatever that is in miles. 5,745 kilometers. Well, here it is right here. 3,570 miles. That was completed in 1960. That's insane.
I think it was shorter. I think that was over 17 stages as well. I might be wrong on that. Not 21 stages.
Wow.
So that's quite a lot.
See, I mean, imagine how hard the bikes, the weight of the bikes, the clothing, the
everything about it, man. The hotels, the food.
All right, question for stage 3 in the Ventum Daily Trivia. History was made at the finish of stage 3 of the 2024 Tour de France. What happened?
2024.
That's easy.
Yeah, that's easy. Okay.
That's easy.
Okay, there you go. We'll give you the answer. It's easy.
That's so easy.
All right, gonna be epic. Another fireworks display.
Yeah, tomorrow's going to be good. Tomorrow's going to be good, and then we're off.
We're off.
It's been exciting.
I did want to play a little homage to your reality TV debut. Colin, you put that up there for me as we're saying goodbye until tomorrow.
Wow.
Oh, that's just, what are we doing here?
Sex sells. There we go.
Look at that. Was that comfortable, that suit?
No, you know what? We don't, Colton. On that note, I hope everybody has a great day. And you know what? And on that note, take care of your mental health. Honestly. Thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate it. We'll see you all tomorrow.